This is episode 74 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Alex Jarbo. Alex is a short-term rental developer and manager, host of the YouTube channel Alex Builds, and the founder of Sargon Investments. Alex, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, get into some short-term rentals. But before we get there, what is your first memory of your interest in real estate?
My first memory came from just, while I was still in the Marine Corps my last year, I just started picking up a lot of just general business books and gravitated originally towards the beginner, bigger pockets books, some of the original BP books. So that's like my first memory of like learning about real estate. My first aha moment with real estate came from reading a book called Crushing It by Brian Murphy and just understanding Murray, sorry.
Yeah.
That first aha moment with I specifically remember where I was at, where I was reading that book and understanding like the correlation between cap rates and income and value. That was a huge like aha moment for me in real estate.
Did you find that being in the military that over the years it's become much more important for military personnel to figure out kind of like, hey, what other things am I going to do when I get home? Was this part of what you were trying to do while you were still out there?
Yeah. It was my last year was figuring out. I joined a flipping mentorship when I was still in, and then that flipping mentorship is like what snowballed into like me getting into short-term rentals because the gentleman that was in charge of that flipping mentorship, all of his long-term holds were in vacation rentals. This back in like 2015, 16.
Yeah.
I don't really talk about my transition too much, but like the biggest thing that I learned from the military compared to like going out and practically doing everything on your own is that I think a lot of service members we're so used to a structure.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want like some sort of freedom coming out of the structure. And sometimes that's not necessarily a good thing. Cause it's like, if you're an entrepreneur, you're making your own schedule and it's like, you need to hold yourself accountable. I mean, if you have a business partner, that's one thing, but that was the biggest thing I struggled with coming out of the military was like, okay, now I have all the time in the world. What do I do? Cause it was almost like overwhelming.
You were talking about the A-frame and why you did it.
Yeah. So with the A-frame, I'll just start from the beginning with that.
Yeah.
So with the A-frame, I was gravitated towards something that I wanted to stay at. Like I would, something that I'd be proud to stay at. And that's just gone with with all the properties that we've developed. That's been the mindset is that we're building properties that a guest would be proud to stay in outside of the city that they're like a property that is an experience outside of the city that the guest is visiting. So like we said, Asheville is a really cool market. This whole Western North Carolina market is really cool, very outdoorsy. But on top of that, we build really cool properties that a guest can just stay at. Like we can talk about it at the end, but the massive community that we're purchasing, the Treehouse community, what we realized was, yeah, Asheville is really cool, but like I've spent 10 separate nights up there and looking around, a lot of the guests don't even leave the property. So it's like, it's a really cool thing to see that where it's like you're building properties that people just want to relax in, even though the market's really cool.
Yeah.
And then that 800 square foot A-frame, that size just came out of necessity where I couldn't afford to build anything bigger. But now it's like everything that we build is in that 4 to 1,200 square foot range. We have purchased properties that are way, way, way bigger than that fit in the luxury market. Say we have a property that's 5,500 square foot. That's because it's unique in its own way. Historic house built in 1880.
Yeah.
But going back to that first A-frame, yeah, it came out of necessity. And then it was just building a property that we would be proud to stay in. And it just ended up being popular for everyone else.
I mean, I think like it's an experience-based thing. And like you said, I think during the pandemic when Airbnbs were hot because people needed to get out of their ridiculous houses that they were stuck in, I don't think that part's going away. The need to get away and relax, which is part of what you said, like all inclusive, meaning like bring your food, don't leave, enjoy the premises and enjoy not having to do, work or anything else.
The other side to it, because you hear about like the Airbnb bust, which unfortunately that came from one of my peers at Bigger Pockets. Then Forbes picked up that term and then it just went everywhere late last year. Where there's definitely been a downturn in the vacation rental market, but the people who have been affected the most outside of, say, like, you don't have unique properties, because nobody can, like, not everyone can just go build a property tomorrow. But the people that are thriving right now, and the managers that are thriving, the owners that are thriving right now, are the people that treat. So, like, you're not, when you own a vacation rental, you're not just an Airbnb. You should stop saying that. Like, I own Airbnbs. You're in
Right. That's a
hospitality.
company.
Yeah, that is a marketing. I look at that like the OTAs, online travel agencies, which are Airbnb, VRBO, and any place that you can list your property. Those should just be looked at as marketing arms to your business. You're in the hospitality industry. You can say either you're in the vacation rental industry, but you're in the hospitality. Especially the last like couple of years, the lines have really started to blur between hotels and vacation rentals. Especially with like Marriott essentially building their own OTA website, like Airbnb, just for higher end stuff. Expedia, Booking.com, like all these companies have vacation rentals in their in their platforms. So those should just be looked at as marketing arms to your business, where you're getting on Airbnb, you're getting on VRBO, Booking.com. If you can get your property on Expedia, get it on Expedia, and all the other, even if there's local online travel agencies, I'd recommend building out some sort of direct booking site, but that's like the last step. That's like a little bit more advanced. But it's funny because it's practically gone full circle. Back in the day, you had to pick up a phone before Airbnb, VRBO, and call a manager's office to book a vacation rental. It's sort of going back to that with direct bookings. It's going full circle where people are, Airbnb, VRBO, the OTAs are always going to be a part of my business. I'm not going to say they're not, but people are looking for almost like alternatives where if they can book directly with the host, they're going to do that. And I mean, the data supports it. What Mark Simpson from Boostly has been doing in this community is massive. And for people who don't know, Boostly builds like direct booking websites, and there's a couple of books that he's written on the topic. But that's sort of the shift that I've experienced in the last year, is getting on every channel that we can, obviously have a property management software, and then getting people to book directly from us who have stayed with us. So the easiest way to do that, honestly, is a service called StayFi, and it's a little disk that plugs into the back of your router, creates a landing page for your internet. So like imagine you're going to Starbucks, airport, you have to plug your email address in to get access to the internet. Same idea, except you can just brand it to you. And you can do this, like, I think it's like $5 a month after you purchase the device. And then you're able to collect all the guest emails. So like that property that I mentioned, that the bigger property, that one can sleep 16 people. So we're not getting the email address of the guest that's staying with us. We're getting everyone that's staying at the property. And then we just remarket to them directly through StayFi. StayFi has its own white label, like email marketing product and templates. And we just send seasonal emails to our direct booking site. And that way, there's nothing against the terms of service to do that. It's against the terms of service for like Airbnb to try to take them off of the platform when they're initially trying to book with you.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there's nothing against collecting their contact info after they've had a good stay with you to remarket to them. It's an easy sell after that. If they had a good experience with you, there's a lot of horror stories where that come from vacation rental. So people are a little iffy on that first stay. And if they've had a good stay with you, it's pretty easy to be like, hey, you can save money by just booking with us directly next time.
Right. Right. I mean, these are things that I think, like you said, you touched on something that I talk about both on market and off market, is treating it like a business and not a job. Like, cool, if you want to get one investment and you want to do short-term rental and you want to learn how that way, that's awesome. That's a great way to get started. But when you want to turn it up, you have to think like as a full business, and it's clear that you've really thought it out. And it looks like that all started though while you were in the military, just getting started by piecing it together from a couple books just to start.
Yeah, like the .com Secrets books by Russell they're very good, just overall business books on understanding how to build a list and build a community. I remember when the first A-frame, when it was built, StayFi didn't exist. And I was like, it'd be really cool if we did like an email capture or something, maybe if it's like through messaging where we just asked for their email. And then when I found that tool, I mean, I implemented that tool into my property without even having a direct booking site. I mean, we launched our direct booking site this year. So like we were collecting emails for 5-6 years before we even did anything with them. So it's like definitely like I read, I think it was just .com and Expert at the time. But the .com Secrets trilogy is just a really good overall business type of, like, just understanding how business should work. And then real estate books, I recommended Crushing It just to understand how real estate works.
Absolutely.
And just a couple syndication books just to understand how to like value like a commercial property.
Yeah.
You can do it 5 books. Like you can literally do it 5 books.